and welcome to another edition of Lydia's Crafty Corner with me, Lydia, in my little crafty corner. So today we are going to be creating a beautiful tarnished look on some mirror cardstock. To start with, I have a piece of the backing of the double-sided adhesive from Ochre, and also a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of gold mirror cardstock. I'm then going to be adding some alcohol inks to this in kind of a dabbing kind of technique. And I'll be using two different colours of the alcohol inks from Ochre. I'm using the Sicilian Amber and also the yellow ochre. So I'm kind of mixing those around, dabbing them into place. I chose not to swirl it as this can take some of the mirror or the gold off the mirror cardstock, and I didn't want that. So that's why I'm just going to dab this all over to create that beautifully tarnished look. So you can see how pretty it is there. I'm then going to be using the Persian Motifs Die Set to cut into this little panel we've created. I'm using the detailed one, so there was a shadow and a detail, and this detail is the one that I'm going to use. And I'm just going to pop this into place onto that panel so I can use both parts. So the inside piece, which is cut, and also the negative piece around to add a panel onto a different card. We are going to be creating two cards with these. So once that's die cut, I then chose to cut the shadow from the die set from some navy cardstock. So again, I'm just popping that into place and then cutting that with my die cutting machine. So I now have the beautiful gold element and then a navy element. I then wanted some vellum. Now to cut this, I have added it onto some double-sided adhesive sheet first, and that means it's going to be nice and sticky so I can use it straight away and I don't have to worry about any adhesive on this one. I'm then going to take the shadow die again, and we're going to cut this from the vellum piece that we've just created. You can line up your gold one just to make sure that everything is going to be covered, and then I'm just going to die cut that one. Once that has been die cut, I can remove the outside piece, and then I also have that beautiful shadow piece from the vellum. Just remember to kind of get rid of all of the inside pieces on this as well before you move on to the next step. So once I have my vellum shadow and my gold detail, I'm then going to pop the gold detail parts on top of the vellum piece. So all I'm going to do is remove that from the die, and I'm then going to be using my glue tape from Ochre to kind of glue the backside piece of this and then pop that into place onto the shadow. It's really easy to do, and everything kind of fits in perfectly there with that little vellum showing around the outside edge of the detailed gold. I then have a panel of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 solar white, and I've just added some double-sided adhesive onto this, and this is how we're going to create our second panel using that tarnished kind of look of the mirror cardstock. I'm just going to remove the backing from the adhesive and then pull it away and then add the gold panel into place. Once that's done, I can then move on to the kind of shadow piece that we have with the navy cardstock. I'm just going to pop that into place. I didn't adhere this piece fully down because I knew that I was going to have to add in all of these little gold spaces between the little white spots in the navy die cut. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do. So I'm going to be taking those little negative spots out of the die that has all of the little gold pieces in, and I'm just going to pop those into place. You may find that these little tweezers from Ochre really help because you're going to be able to kind of move those pieces around just to make sure that everything is covered. So when you look through the die, there is going to be no white spaces from the background. It's just going to be all gold or all navy. So I am kind of using the pieces that are in the right place on the die, just popping them in, and then once I'm happy with how everything's look, I can then kind of press that image down a little bit more. I do start from top to bottom. I find this is easier, but you could always start the other way around, or you could just do whichever way you find is easiest for you. So I'm just going to keep going with this until all of those little white pieces are beautifully covered with our tarnished mirror cardstock. So once that is all done and all the little places are in position, to really adhere all of those little pieces into place, I'm just going to run that through my die cutting machine, and then everything is lovely and beautifully flat. So I now have this panel complete at the minute. I'm then going to move on to that vellum piece again, and I'm going to cut out the detail this time. So we have cut the vellum twice, once with the shadow and then once with the detail. And this detail piece of vellum with the adhesive on already is what is going to go on top of our navy one. So this is going to add a really beautiful kind of soft look to this image. And as before, all I'm doing is I'm kind of removing the pieces and then adding these into place onto that shadow image. So the shadow image is the navy here, and the detail is going to be that beautiful vellum. So once all of the images are in place, I can then turn the little panel over and cut off any of the excess. So once that's done, I then realized that I didn't stick any of these gold pieces to some of the elements. So all I'm going to do on this vellum piece is just chop them off. It's going to change the look of the die cut a little bit, but it still looks very, very pretty. So once I have done that, I can then add this piece to a panel. So the panel that I'm going to be adding this onto is a 4 1/4 by 5.5 panel of navy cardstock. So I'm just going to lift off some of the adhesive backing and then pop that into place just to make sure everything's going to fit nicely, and then I can remove the rest and press that down. Again, remove any of the overhanging pieces. For the sentiment, I am going to be stamping this onto some navy cardstock, and I'm going to be using the Sentiment Strips 3. As I'm going to be heat embossing this, I have added some anti-static powder to that cardstock, and I'm then going to be stamping the sentiments using some embossing ink. So this is a sticky ink that's going to allow the embossing powder to stick to the stamped sentiment. So once I've stamped that down, I'm then going to take some of the antique gold embossing powder from Altenew, tip that over the sentiments, tap off the excess before heat setting that. Once that's done, all we need to do is pop our sentiments into place. You can really play around with where you want these to go to create different effects and looks. I'm going to add these down onto my card panels using some foam tape just for a little bit of dimension, as everything else is really quite flat on these cards. So once I have the the sentiments in place, these are the cards complete. I really do hope that you like the cards and that you've enjoyed the video as well. If you do create a card that was inspired by this, it'd be great if you do share, because we'd love to see. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and we'll see you again really, really soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, crafty friend, Lydia here. Just popping in to say that you can get your daily dose of crafting tips, techniques and tutorials just like this by subscribing to the Altenew YouTube channel. All you need to do is click on that little bell up there and you will never miss a video. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.